I will be building this kit I bought a while ago, and though I don't play the Horus Heresy, I thought this guy was too cool to pass up, but the price of $80 is far too much. As you'll see later in the video, there are some painting concerns as well as building complaints. Overall, the finished kit is fun to look at and was an interesting challenge. This was also my first dive into the included decals, and they turned out not to be as difficult as I had thought. It's not too impressive, but I liked the way this fit and how nicely it came together. I think the swooping shape as the model comes together is pretty satisfying, though we start to see some of the painting concerns I have, and I would suggest a sub-assembly to paint this kit well. I find it a little frustrating that such small parts appear on different sprues. The skulls, eyes, and multi-part claws for the mechanical arms. Though it wasn't too bad since everything came together in the end. I had some trouble gluing on the skull with just the Tamiya extra thin cement. I don't know if I was being dumb and could have done this better. For something like this in the future, I would suggest sprue glue or super glue and skip over the hassle. Paint the gun and eyes before attaching the top panels, since they restrict access to the skull and behind the gun. The big eye on the flyer broke while I was trying to force it on. Fortunately, the crack was on a down-facing area, and after sprue glue and painting, it's hard to see. You could also use a 2-part epoxy for this repair, or fill it up with super glue. The gun fits interestingly between the parts and was easy to glue. The arms seem like they're waiting to get caught on something and break. During painting and transport, this is a concern as the arms do get caught on random things like fingers and clothes. I used plastic cement on the whole kit and waited a few days to paint it. After the wait, the arms held up well while painting and didn't fall off or deform. I also used a soft touch while painting. The highlighted part has a multi-part collar. When snipping the second half, it flew off and I haven't seen it since. Luckily, it's not noticeable, but it seems that this kit has a little too many separate parts. The thrusters are very interesting and they seem obvious for their kit bashing potential. You only get 2 in the kit, and I intend on using the kit as is for the meantime. The thruster has many different parts to it, so if you're going to make molds, do so before gluing together in order to catch all the detail. I got ahead of myself and put on the arms for the thrusters wrong. It was easy enough to fix by slightly bending the arms out and turning the thruster around. I don't intend on gluing this part in order to keep its rotation. These are more pieces you could potentially lose, but while building, I thought it was a little funny that they were separate parts. After gluing with the plastic cement, the drying position was a little awkward. For these joints, maybe you'll want to pin or use super glue. However, with plastic cement and sprue glue, they turned out fine, maybe a little lopsided. This is my first attempt of painting yellow with the pink underpainting. I used an equal mix of Liquitex Naphthol Crimson and Titanium White. The second layer is just Titanium White, and finally, an all-over layer of Bad Moon Yellow. I moisten the dry brush in order to help release the paint. I'm using a mix of Liquitex Bright Silver ink and Vallejo Model Color Black. I use this mix because my Runefang Silver dried out and I haven't bought a replacement. This mix requires more work to get to where I like it, but sometimes there's nothing more permanent than a temporary solution. I brush it off on a laminated cardboard box instead of a paper towel in order to prevent chalkiness. I hear unfinished pieces of wood also work, or you could get a texture board, or maybe even make one yourself from the bits you don't plan on using, or maybe even make one from the sprues you have left over. After a base layer of the previous mix, I dry brush with just the bright silver. This will be the metal recipe for all the metal parts. I paint on the metallics to prevent anything from potentially snapping from a dry brush motion. And I highlight just the bright silver with a small brush. I'll be doing a trim of Warblock Bronze. It actually needed 3 layers for full coverage. The trim reminds me of Chaos Marines. It was a little tedious doing the trim on the flyer, but the simple trim pattern wasn't terrible to work on. Castellan Bronze on weapon parts as an accent color, and this is pretty much the finished product. I'd give the model a 6 out of 10. Its size makes it easy to work on, but some of the parts are too intricate and become tedious to build, like the different parts of the thrusters and the different parts of the arms. Painting small arms like this are always a little annoying, and painting trim just kind of sucks.